You are listening to Radiant Creators, a collaborative project composed of people whose passion, purpose, and dedication requires forging their own unique path of empowerment and livelihood. A Radiant Creator isn't making a living, they are living.
Something we like to do here on Radiant Creators. This is a follow-up interview, or interview number 2 with Marius Landman. He's definitely a crypto enthusiast, definitely somebody who's in the game, and he's helping people, make money in crypto and understand crypto, and that's important. And also, one of the great things about Marius is he's insatiably enthusiastic about cryptocurrency, and that's essential because right now the market's down, or we might say consolidating, or maybe finding its value before it goes to the moon again. But regardless, no matter how you approach crypto, how you're involved in crypto, maybe you're a crypto enthusiast and you're day trading, or you're in for the longer trades, or you're just interested, or you're following the market. Right now it's a bit of a depressing cycle. Right now, it seems like we're in a downward channel, and it doesn't seem to be pulling out. Now we know it will, and we know we're close no matter what, because there isn't that much more bottom to really, get to. I mean, so Bitcoin's at what, 35 or 3,400 today after a slight dump, and not many think it'll go below 1,500. Could, but regardless, compared to the all-time highs a year ago at 20,000 or so, there's much variance that's happening, and there really just isn't that much further to go down. So those who are waiting to get in are like, hey, when's that confirmed uptrend? And then those who've been in since the all-time highs are hoping that one day they won't be completely wrecked if they stayed in. So anyway, this is an important moment in crypto. So we wanted to get Marius back on the show because he's an enthusiastic man, and not only is he as a crypto enthusiast, but you might say a life enthusiast, and that's really important. So what's been going on, Marius? We know that you run a group that helps people understand what's happening in markets, helps predict, helps talk about what's happening, gives some investment guidance and such. So what's been going on in the Australian world of Marius?
Thank you very much, Craig, for getting me on here. And the first interview that we did was very well received all over the world. And it's just because you're asking those great questions. And one of the great questions that you've asked now, what is happening with crypto right now with the market? And Craig, you don't have to look further than just Twitter. And you look at the amount of annihilation that is going on Twitter. Major accounts have been just left blank, and people have left Twitter. And people don't respond to Twitter messages anymore. They don't post messages. The negative sentiment is abundant. And this is exactly at the point where Bitcoin always turns upwards. And we always need to remember that in the world stock markets, the world stock markets always go up and they come down, they go up and they come down. And it's a repeating pattern every single time. But at the moment where Bitcoin is, we can probably argue and say we're now at a low trend. We're not in a bear market, and I'll explain that as we go further on. Most people are saying this is the longest bear market, this is a bad bear market. We are not in a bear market. We are in an overall bull market, and many people cannot see that. As a matter of fact, this bull market is going to be so stunning that people will be blown out with what they are going to see. Now, what's happening with Bitcoin at the moment is that we're at a low point price-wise. And we don't always need to look at the price versus the US dollar. Because in let's say in maybe 12 months from now, we may break the all-time high, and then people look at price again and say, but we are 20,000 Bitcoin now, and then people feel all happy. And this is something that we don't need to look at, Craig, because we're now playing with our emotions. Now remember, when the market is low like now, everybody is dead quiet, everybody is emotionally destroyed. When the market is up, everybody's happy and everybody talks about Lamborghinis, but we need to find that middle line. And my success in trading with Bitcoin is always to be objective. Now, in our algorithm pattern, we can see that the market is low, but we can also see the other side where we see the market comes up again. And I'm excited about the low trend because, Craig, imagine that we can buy Bitcoin at $3,500. It's a gift. So that is why I'm still excited about the fact, and this is why I've been teaching my subscribers now to say, listen, this year, 2019, is the year of the Bitcoin farmer. We now are farming for Bitcoin. And we can go into those questions a little bit later. But yes, Craig, we are very excited. Here in Australia, things are going very well. The government is supporting cryptocurrencies, not like in America. And if you ever see the news in America where the government says that, crypto is dying and they don't support it, it's not true, because the rest of the world, Craig, is adopting cryptocurrencies at a very, very fast pace. From South Africa, right through to Australia, right through to New Zealand, all over the world. It's happening. So yeah, happy to be on the show, and any questions, just let me know.
Yeah. Well, with cryptocurrency, and I guess ultimately there's this topic of cryptocurrency or Bitcoin explicitly, since that's what most people are aware of. And I think that sometimes when we say Bitcoin, we're using it as a blanket term for all cryptocurrencies, because some people may think there's only one and have a vague notion of others, or maybe some people know that there's like 2,000 right now. But regardless, we kind of call it Bitcoin. And so there is the notion of Bitcoin versus centralized, a fiat currency controlled by central banks and government. And so that's, I think, something that people are beginning to be aware of, that ultimately when a nation's currency ultimately has no value, that affects the people of that country. It really affects the national spirit it creates. It affects the arts, the optimism, the hopes, dreams. It's odd, but it's something I've been realizing. There's a book called, I think it's called Bitcoin, the Standard. I'll have to look it up, but it's about the history of money and Bitcoin and how we're moving from the centralized control of money all through history to now a non-centralized control. And for one thing, when governments cannot print money, they really can't fund wars. And so it's an odd thing, but when it comes to cryptocurrency, one of the reasons that I'm involved, especially being a veteran, you could say, is it's really the most effective way to have a peaceful revolution. I know we spoke about it in the last time we talked, but something to touch on again is, cryptocurrency and money not being centralized and controlled by banks and governments, but being ultimately having a true value that can't be changed. It can only really be traded. That is an important thing in our time. For one thing, it really helps to rein in governments, create countries that are run by the people that live in them, rather than governments that may not have their best interest in mind. And ultimately, it stops wars. Because governments now cannot create them because they can't print fiat currency. They can't make money to fund wars.
Craig, that's exactly a very good point. And if you talk to thousands of people, 99% of those people will say that we don't want war. We as the human race, we don't like war. And you just need to go into the Middle East. And I've been there. And when you see the destruction, Craig, it's unbelievable. I tell you, you get goosebumps. And I get goosebumps just talking about it. Because you look at little kids, moms, dads, they've been destroyed by the system, by making war. And Craig, as you know, that I've been a lieutenant in the Special Forces in South Africa, in the Parachute Battalion. I've been in wars and I've seen what it does. I've seen how the war machine works, where they would make war and then start selling weapons. There's a big industry behind the wars. And we don't want those wars. And Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, if we ever, or not if, but when we get to that point where we are going to get into that system where we have a decentralized system, the governments of this world will not be able to print extra digital currencies. And you're right by saying, then they've got no money to go and make war. They will be able to defend themselves. But look, a lot of people think that the fiat currencies will disappear very quickly. And we don't see that, Craig. We see that going on for another probably about 14 to 15 years. There is a model that I have that I've presented to my subscribers, and you've probably seen that as well, where we show till the year 2038 what Bitcoin is going to do. And at one stage, Bitcoin actually falls down, and there's a different currency in the form of a cryptocurrency that comes in, and that cryptocurrency actually fails again, and then we rebuild it all from scratch up till the year 2038. So for now, we see a lot of rumors of war, and this is what we are seeing in Venezuela, where we've already seen that America, I don't know if the public is aware of this, but you can just go and do a search. There's about 16 warships out in international water ready to make war in Venezuela and in those areas. There's special forces on the ground in Venezuela, American special forces. Russia has already supplied Venezuela with 2 nuclear capable fighter jets. And then obviously we get China that's already in Venezuela. They pay the government a lot of money, and the government is using that to survive. And then in return, China gets the oil. And wherever there's oil involved, America must be there. And in this case, America was a little bit late. Simply because of all the infighting that's going on in America. The American government is fighting so much that they can't actually focus on what is happening in the rest of the world. They're destroying themselves. Not the people, but the American government. So we are going to see rumors of war, but definitely, Craig, for me, I don't like war. I've been there, I've seen it, I've seen how it sucked me in, and I've seen how the rich elite use war to make money for themselves. As a matter of fact, I believe that Donald Trump at one stage is going to announce in the next 2 or 3 months that we are now at war. It will be rumors of war, and that will actually push up the world stock markets. That's the only reason the American government is going to announce that we are now at war. So it's very interesting what happens. And then obviously what's going to happen is, Craig, they are going to start printing money. The money machine will start going, and then you're going to see gold and silver spike, and cryptocurrencies will go up as well. As a matter of fact, Craig, I see that at about by May, June. May and June is the time when the world stock markets will go up and when cryptocurrencies will go up as well. Just a little bit of inside information for your followers and the people that actually listen to your podcasts and your Skype videos.
Yeah, well, thanks for that insight. It's one thing about cryptocurrency and people getting involved is there's lots of people who, I would say the traditional markets as a trader, are a little boring. But it's an advantage that I have is that I was interested in that, years ago, and then I kind of dropped it because it was slow and it bored me to tears. But having that little bit of knowledge, then when cryptocurrency came along, it made cryptocurrency, since I knew TA, technical analysis and could read charts. Well, I've learned a lot since then, of course, but something I'd recommend to people is that an insight that I got years ago and kind of forgot, but now I remembered, is that some of the most knowledgeable geopolitical journalists, people who really have an idea of what's going on, are traders, are people working in the market, because they see things from the perspective of how the world really works. It might sound a little bit dry, but ultimately, a lot of the events that are happening today and that have happened like in the Middle East after 9/11, etc., and beforehand, all of that, it was all, you could say, foreseen by people who understood the market. So, if a person wants to help their abundance and help their well-being, studying cryptocurrency and just simply being in the market and looking at the crypto news and looking at the market news it might be your best geopolitical education possible.
That is a very good point, because look, if you look at the media at the moment, I mean, yes, that is terrible news. It's a terrible education from that perspective. But Craig, that's well said. Very well. I'm not sure if there was a question in there, but
no, not really, not really. I often just throw things out there and I see if a person has anything to follow up with. But yeah, the book I was talking about, and I forgot the title, was the Bitcoin Standard, the decentralized alternative to central banking. Amazing book, and it's on Amazon. Also, there's an audible version of it. The guy gets into the history of money, and truly and it's been a great education for me, because he really gets into, more so than I even understood, the destructive force that money that has no value has on a country and a culture. How it just I never quite understood the actual destructive force that is. And so that's maybe that question I'd ask you is, how does that affect a culture and a nation? Like, we can see it in Venezuela right now, where I saw a tweet and I checked the article that it was linking to, and it seemed legitimate that right now there's more value trading in Venezuela right now in Bitcoin than there is in their actual native currency, because their native currency has no value. So you really can't stop commerce, you can't stop life. But when the currency has no value, all there is crypto. And so, I mean, how does a valueless currency that is manipulated and controlled by central interests negatively affect a culture, a country at its heart, its core?
Yeah, that's very interesting. And how the process happens is just a loss of control in in the belief of the currency, and people have just lost faith. Now think about this. We saw it happen in Zimbabwe. We saw it happen in a few countries in Africa. Now we are seeing it happen in South America, and it nearly happened in other countries in Europe as well. But the central banks came in and they suddenly printed money, they signed contracts, they put people in debt, and they took assets from the governments, like what the IMF did and all the other countries. They're all crooks. They're all there just to have a facade up. But behind that facade, Craig, all these countries are actually doing what Venezuela is doing. We just see what's happening in Venezuela, and nobody came and propped up the stock markets or supported the government, or it was too late to do. As a matter of fact, I know people won't like it if I say this now, but the American government and the monetary system in America is exactly the same. It's all just a paper building. And when the house of cards come down, it's going to be like Venezuela. Now keep in mind, it won't just simply happen overnight in America, because America has got a lot of tricks up their sleeve. And you also sit there with a president that has got a lot of power, and it may not look like he is working together with all the other financial let's say industries in America, the Federal Reserve and all those facilities, but they are, and they won't allow fiat currencies just simply to collapse. Because you will have annihilation in America. You'll have civil unrest like you have never seen. But Venezuela is a typical example, Craig, what is going to happen in approximately by the year 2024, 2025, worldwide. There's going to be so much uproar. Now remember, fiat currencies will still survive, and cryptocurrencies will just become stronger and stronger, but it's going to take a bit of time. And we see that happening up till about the year 2012, 2014, around there. Eventually, cryptocurrencies will fade away, and new governments will be formed, and new monetary systems will come out in the form of cryptocurrencies, which will be worldwide adopted. But you just have to look at Venezuela now. I mean, they are buying and have been buying Dash for like a long time. those people that were the smart investors, and unfortunately, Craig, is only 1 or 2% of the world population. I tell you now, the 1 or 2%, and the 1 or 2% will listen to this podcast or Skype video. And these people are the people that will become the multi-millionaires of cryptocurrencies. Only 1% of the Venezuelan people are buying Dash. And that's studies that we've done. About 1.4% have been buying Dash. Now, they bought Dash. Dash went upwards. So they made a lot of money while the fiat currency in Venezuela dropped down. Now, those people there, if they cash Dash out now, they can literally buy homes with the money that they had. Now, at the time when they invested the money, they would have probably had about a deposit to put on a home of 10%. But now the currency has dropped so far and the value of Dash went up so much that with that 10% deposit, they can buy a house or two. So want people let this sink in. You know, even though you think that Bitcoin is at $3,500, that's what I said earlier. Don't look at the US dollar value. We are forgetting something really, really big here. When hyperinflation kicks in here, I tell you it's going to be a different story. When the fiat currencies potentially collapse, it's going to be a different story. Your currency will become, and as I say now, Craig, like those people who invested 10% where they could buy a property and just put a deposit on, they now can buy with that 10% that they converted into cryptocurrencies, maybe a house or two, cash. You know, this is a lesson that we really need to learn. But yes, it is disappointing to see what's happening all over the world. And Craig, as a matter of fact, as I said, it's happening all over the world. We just don't see it because there's a facade where people look at money printing, changing interest rates. And let's talk about the money printing. I mean, the government says this, and they say that we are not doing any money printing anymore. It's a complete and utter lie. We have researched.
Yeah, money printing is happening 24/7. Yeah, it has not stopped at all.
It hasn't stopped. Japan hasn't stopped. The European Union hasn't stopped doing it. So it's all lies and deceit the whole time. And we, as clever, smart people, the 1 or 2% that are listening to this call, make your ears, open your ears, and take this information in. Stay invested in cryptocurrencies. Because I tell you guys now, and even now with this low price, I tell you now, within 40 hours from now, maybe 3 days, you're going to see a different story. Everybody, every analyst in the world is calling for Bitcoin to drop. It's not going to drop, guys. Because of what's happening, what Craig and I are discussing here now, and I'm not going to go into my algorithm data and what I give to my subscribers, but I tell you now, you better stay invested in cryptos. You stand a chance to make 60 to 100% in certain cryptos, and I've identified those cryptos that are going to make that profit. And if I'm wrong, I won't do an interview with you again, Craig, but I tell you now, guys, what we are seeing here is something remarkable that's going to happen. And it's going to happen so quick that the market is going to go up. And if you're not in the market, you're going to miss that initial profits. So I'll just leave my comment there, Craig. But yeah, just to get back to the money laundering, money printing. I mean, the governments are doing this daily. But if you and I just launder $10,000 from Australia to Japan, we're in big trouble. You go to jail for 30 years. I mean, it's ridiculous what's happening.
I think something that is waking people up to this is cryptocurrency itself. Like, there's a great book called The Secret Destiny of America. And it gets into all these divine and unique events that happened during the creation of America, this country, that are kind of like divinely inspired, you might say. They're kind of unexplainable. It's a fun book, very, very short. And it seems like cryptocurrency could be another one of these sort of, you know, I'm a spiritual guy, so I know that invalidates me to many people, and that's fine. It's okay. I'm crazy. I don't take it personally. But it could be very well this is a bit of a divinely inspired thing for humanity, because it really is part of our progress. You know, if there is going to be one, is definitely a universally, for one thing, a universally accepted cryptocurrency that anyone can, you know, use as currency with anyone else or any other entity anywhere in the world. So borders kind of become invisible monetarily, certainly. And with Venezuela and Dash, it's quite amazing because the people there, I mean, they're definitely realizing something that I think America has yet to realize, but will, and hopefully they'll all be invested in cryptocurrency before this happens, is that, yeah, fiat currency, one can say that crypto is, you know, backed by nothing. Well, that's not true. It is backed. One thing, it's backed by scarcity, you might say, and it's backed by, like Bitcoin, there's only going to be a certain number of Bitcoin, and that is it. And so Bitcoin becomes the digital, you know, standard of trade. So there's only so much. So every Satoshi, every increment of a Bitcoin becomes worth more and more and more. So one thing about cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, as kind of the gold standard, is that don't compare it to the US dollar, because you people who are listening, I know you know this. Don't compare it to the U.S. dollar or the Australian or any other, you know, fiat currency, because I think not too long from now we're going to see that every Satoshi is like gold. We will realize that gold standard. And so if you're simply dollar cost averaging, like you go to Coinbase, make an account, you know, buy $50 or $100 every week, or $25 or $50 a month, whatever you can, you know, whatever is right for you. Dollar cost average it, forget it. You might find that is what literally makes your way in not too many years, where you might find that we're comparing it to the US dollar today, but it is a currency that almost has yet to be realized by many. And I think even those who believe in it, you know, we know the value that it's going to have in the future. We just don't know exactly, well, for myself, when that's going to happen, but there's a certainty in it.
Absolutely, Craig. I can't agree with you more. But I also just want to bring back to the point where you said about spirituality. You know, remember this, you know, there is something majestical in Bitcoin. You know, everybody knows it and everybody feels it. And if you are a listener here and you go, yes, this is woo-woo stuff, you know, please, guys, you know, just start changing, you know, yourself and start connecting with your inner being. You know, stop saying there is not a creator. You know, I'm not saying this is what you should do, but I just urge you to do that. You know, I was at that point in my life when I was 12 years old. I never believed there was a God or a creator, up till I just one day had a supernatural encounter. You know, and I connected with myself and I realized that there is something big. And to go back, you have to understand that I grew up in an orphanage. And in that orphanage, I had nobody who cared for me. You were just a number. When I went to school, we literally had to sit in the back of the class because we were orphans. And most people in South Africa at that time, in the old regime, didn't like black people. And the black kids had to sit in the back, and I had to sit in the back with them. But that was the best thing ever, Craig, because I never listened to what the teacher said. So I never got into that mindset of what they wanted me to know. I made up my own decisions. I taught myself how to run a business. And by not listening to the school system, it was the best thing really that I could have done. But what I'm saying, guys, is that I had that encounter, and at the age of 13, I knew that I've got something inside me that just got unlocked. And what you need to do is just to connect to yourself, unlock what's inside you, and you are going to become a supernatural human being. And what Craig said here now, connect. The supernatural, I tell you guys, is very, very important. And cryptocurrencies, there's something magic, something special, something supernatural in cryptocurrencies. And for the life of me, Craig, I can't remember what else he said there, but I was just so focused on that supernatural because I love it. You know, I love that. And that's what I like about you, man. I love you, brother.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Well,
your other point was also there's only 21 million bitcoins. Now think about this. The Australian population, the entire population in Australia is 23 million. There's not even enough cryptos in Bitcoin so that each Australian can have only one Bitcoin. And what do you think is going to happen in 4 or 5 or 6 years from now? In this period from now to that time, Bitcoin is going to go up to 20, to 40, to 100, and then it creates exponential growth. And in my latest target, Craig, I said that Bitcoin is going to hit $1 trillion. And I did a video about that to show people how and when it's going to happen. We're also going to have hyperinflation, remember this. But the high target is coming. But for now, for the year 2019, is where you need to farm for Bitcoin. Make and get together as many Bitcoin as what you can. And what Craig said there as well, $50, go and buy a little bit of Satoshis. Next week, $40 again. Just keep buying that. So over to you, Craig.
Oh, definitely. And something you were saying about buy Satoshis. Now, not everybody knows that ultimately the smallest increment of a Bitcoin is a Satoshi. So, how many Satoshi are in a Bitcoin? It's like 1 million? I forget.
I can't remember now. 60 million or something. I can't remember now.
Yeah, basically, like, to be technical, there's a crap ton of Satoshi in a Bitcoin. And so with that, some people will get a little bit despondent. They go, oh man, I don't have, $3,500 for a Bitcoin. And no, I understand. Believe me, I do know what you mean. But think of a Bitcoin like a dollar. It doesn't, you can buy 10 cents of a dollar. So basically, if you're buying Satoshis, their value, especially in Bitcoin in the future, and even now, it's funny, we're in a moment right now where you can buy Satoshis. So even if you're buying, you just automate buying weekly. Let's say, I guess I don't want to necessarily promote them, but I'm just referencing a very easy way for people who are not familiar. Coinbase, they do charge a transaction fee, which is a bit much. And there's other ways you can do it, but the easiest way for somebody to start buying Bitcoin who's totally unfamiliar, and trust me, you'll become more familiar. But to get started is you go to Coinbase, make an account, you go dollar cost averaging, and weekly or monthly, whatever works for you, you buy an amount of Bitcoin. And those Satoshis, it doesn't matter if it's only $10 a week or 20 or 50 or whatever, or $1,000 a month, whatever suits you. We don't need to necessarily think of it in terms of a Bitcoin is all that has value. An increment of a Bitcoin has value, just like a dollar has value versus $100. It's a piece of $100, So think of every Satoshi, you might say, as a dollar, vaguely, and it has value. And where the fiat currency, the dollar, is only going to lose value, and this is not financial advice, people, I'm a crazy person, don't listen to me, the Bitcoin, the Satoshi, is going to gain exponential value versus the dollar.
Exactly. And by the way, there's 100 million Satoshis in one Bitcoin. Yeah, that's interesting, Craig.
Yeah, and right now we think about, Bitcoin, you mentioned 21 million. So imagine if you own, by the end of 2019, let's say the first quarter or whatever, let's say you own a Bitcoin. Think about that. There's only 21 million. You are part of we should call it the 21 million club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The 21 million club, yeah. Yeah, and then it's amazing that you see that there are wallets that own 1 million Bitcoins. It's incredible. And guys, exactly what Craig is saying here. If you can manage by the end of this year to achieve the goal of earning 1 Bitcoin. Now, one thing, Craig, that I just want to mention here is, and this is what I've taught my subscribers base from the beginning of the year. Now, we expect the first part of the year to go sideways. And I believe that the low for Bitcoin is in. I don't believe we are going to go lower, but we are going to come and retest that low. And by retesting the low, what I mean is that we could come to 3125 and it could stab through perhaps to 3,000. But I don't believe that we're going to go to $1,200, $100 and those kind of crazy levels. I think the low for Bitcoin is kind of like in. But here by April, May, we are going to come down and test that low again. Now, as I said, in the next few days, we're going to go and have this nice uptrend. And if you want more information on that, you can actually just go and read our reports. We show you exactly where it's going to go. But dropping down, we don't see that. I know 99% of all analysts all over the world are now calling for Bitcoin to drop, and they show the technical analysis why. And it's very credible when you look at it. But just remember that Bitcoin doesn't necessarily work on technical analysis. It's about 30% correct, TA. The rest is algorithm data. The rest is Bitcoin just having its own mind. So just remember that, you can't predict the price of Bitcoin on technical analysis. So what we see is the market going sideways. And what we have been teaching our people in this sideways movement for the next 6 months, you're going to go and have uptrends like what we are going to have now, uptrend, and you want to sell right there at the top. Then you want to cash out and put your money in Tether or USDT or US dollar or something else, or a stable coin, because then the market is going to go down. And right down at the bottom, we go and buy back again. And this is how you are going to increase the amount of Bitcoin that you have. Now, let's say, for example, if you sell out of the market on the top and you have 5 Bitcoin. Okay, now you sold out. Let's say we convert your portfolio back to Bitcoin. You may have EOS, OMG, XLM, NEO, and you sell all those cryptos. I don't owe any Bitcoin because Bitcoin will go up 40%. Altcoins will go up double that price. Why would I want to hold Bitcoin? Okay, but at the end of the day, you always need to convert your portfolio back into Bitcoin. My portfolio is worth 5 Bitcoin. Now, let's say at the top, when you sell that 5 Bitcoin, you're now out of the market and you're in US dollar, for example, or Australian dollar, or South African rand. When the market goes right down at the bottom now, we will give you the buy signal and say, right, get back into the market. Guess what now? The market will drop this so far that when you use your money now, your fiat currencies, to buy back the Bitcoin, you could potentially have, in our opinion, about 9 Bitcoin. From 5 to 9. Now you've almost doubled your money in a downtrend. Can you guys see how we made the money in 2018, where I said that we made a 518% gain? That's how we made it. By staying out of the market. We're not even trading, but we come back and we buy in the low. Now we've got 9 Bitcoin and we run the market up again. Right at the top now, we sell, and when we convert it out, we may have 12 Bitcoin. Then we're out of the market, so we constantly buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high. And there's going to be 5 times in the first part of the year where we can buy low and sell high. The first high point now is coming now. I'm not going to give you the timeline, but now. Like now. The high point is coming. And at that high point, you need to sell and get out of the market. And that is how we do it, and that is how you're going to increase your Bitcoin. So by the end of this year, if you have 1, 2, 3, 30, 50, 100 Bitcoin, you are not going to be able to increase your Bitcoin that much going forward. Because remember this, guys, when the market goes up, and I'm not going to give you the time frame, that's all in our reports and it's for our members. But when the market goes up, for example, let's say next year, if the market goes up, you can't increase your Bitcoin. You have 10 Bitcoin. Now the market goes up. You can't increase your Bitcoin. But your dollar value goes up. Now Bitcoin is worth 10,000 Bitcoin and you've got $100,000 because you've got 10 Bitcoin. Now it goes to 20,000. You've still got 10 Bitcoin, but your value is 200,000. But what if the fiat currency now devalues and become far less worth? You've still got 10 Bitcoin. This is why I say, thank your lucky stars that we have this sideways pattern in Bitcoin. You're going to look back at this year and say, that was the year that we could farm for Bitcoin. And everybody, Craig, is missing this point. They get delusional, frustrated, anger. You should see the messages I get, despondent. And then I write back and say to the guy, listen, call me. They call me, and after I have a discussion with them, they say, wow, I didn't realize this, and they get back into crypto. Most people, Craig, are going to miss the boat Because you just look on Twitter, there's barely energy in Twitter accounts. People have left. They're completely out of the market. They've sold up and moved on, never to get back in again. Those people are going to get in next year when the market moves up. And they're going to be like in 2017, Craig, where they come back in at the high point just for the market to turn back and drop again. So take this time, guys. The 1% that is left in cryptocurrencies is now left over. Take the time to teach yourself and prepare yourself for the next 5 years. Mentally, physically, spiritually. What Craig mentioned too. You cannot do it just by being mentally and physical. If you don't have the spiritual part, you miss a big portion. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, you must have a rounded effect. Teach yourself in this year, because what's coming next in cryptocurrencies is going to be stunning. All that has happened in cryptocurrencies, Craig, is that we have a delay of time. It's an expansion of time, it's a delay of time, it's a delay of the price. But what I'm looking at, when I look and investigate this, then I'm thanking my lucky stars, because this is the year of the Bitcoin farmer. I am going to double my Bitcoin, and I've got a lot of Bitcoin. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, wow, can I earn that much Bitcoin? Yes, I can. You can. By the end of this year, Craig, we'll make a 500% return. This is what I guarantee my subscribers. Over to you.
Oh, and it's very true. Marius's group, definitely Marius is very interactive with it and sends out, videos and charts and such. And he does back up what he says and does amazing, unique technical analysis. Something like about Marius is that, can we tell the future with technical analysis? Well, maybe. But I think that it is really important to, at least for myself, look at as many different versions of technical analysis as you can and see how they match or they don't match, and then find things that actually work and have a high level of accuracy, and then stick with those, So definitely what Marius is talking about is worth taking a look at and seeing if that works, if you find that it has a high level of accuracy for you. And let's see.
And Craig, that's
yes.
fair. I don't want to say that technical analysis doesn't work 100%. Remember, it still works. And what in certain instances, and what Craig is saying is 100% correct, guys. Look at a wide range of technical analysis, different technical indicators, and we are not always 100% correct either. Okay, there's a thing called manipulation. We can't work that out. So use our data as a guideline to, with technical analysis, do your own research as well. Craig, you're a clever guy. Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, definitely. Technical analysis is unique, and I would say that for everybody, definitely learn as much. If you're interested in trading, learn as much TA, technical analysis, as you can. And there's a wealth of data out there, a wealth of learning out there on technical analysis, and really it's about finding what works for you. And I definitely think always regardless of how good one individual is at reading technical analysis, of course also look at what other people are doing who have unique styles of doing it. One thing about the negative sentiment today that I do notice, or negative sentiment as we're at the whether we're at the exact bottom or not quite the bottom, or it doesn't matter. We are, whether we're at the bottom or close to it, we're one or the other. I mean, there's not much further to go. I mean, so basically, you can't get much closer to zero. So it's a unique and beautiful time. And one thing I think people need to realize is that clickbait sells. And one thing that I guess you could say pisses me off is on YouTube and mostly YouTube, other social media, is that clickbait does sell. And I can't tell you how many, I mean, I follow a lot of crypto news, and some is positive and some is negative, but some that's negative I only follow just to know what the negative people are talking about. And I certainly wouldn't name anybody's names, negative or positive, right now, but well, Marius is positive, so I'll name him. But there's so much negative clickbait because that's how people on YouTube ultimately make their money, is clicks, is unique views, and selling ads. And when you write things like a YouTube title like Bitcoin going to $5, blah, and you post that, it gets views. And it is amazing when I look at the view count, how many people really are falling for the trolls who are just saying, like, no matter how low it goes, they say, it's going lower for sure. Is it over? You know, it sounds like a monster truck rally commercial, you know. It's like, Bitcoin's going to zero, you know. Anyway, so yeah, it's all a state of mind, and just realize that there are people who literally are trolling for views, who are trolling for their living, basically. And I'm so drastically tempted to mention names, but I won't. I can't.
Yeah, no, we won't. We won't, Craig. We'll just focus on the positive. Look, the thing is, in my life, I have really realized that I associate myself with positive people. And my neighbor was one of the most negative people on earth. And this lady and her husband now, guess what, Craig? They are now the most positive people in the world because they have seen what we do. We invited them over for barbecues. Now they're positive. And I want my entire subscribers base to be positive, guys. When you are positive, you attract what you believe and you attract what you say. For example, if you say that this food is going to kill me, you know, it's going to happen. Don't say that. You know, don't even talk bad about the food you eat. Don't talk bad about any other people. Just don't say it. Don't even think it. I think the best of every single person, even the people that troll me on Twitter. I think the best of them, you know, and, you know, so just start changing your attitude to a positive attitude, and you will see that money will attract you. You're going to attract the most positive people in your life. And quite frankly, this is how I attracted my wife. I've got the most beautiful wife in the world. A nice, tall, blonde, blue-eyed girl from Texas. So I'm married to a Texan, Craig. And Wendy always, she never wanted to know anything about me because I could barely speak English, you know, in my earlier days, because I grew up in South Africa, you know. And I speak Afrikaans, I speak Xhosa, and I speak Zulu. And when I speak Xhosa, I sound like an African. So, and then when I talk over the phone, I sound like something different. I'm not an American. But I focused on getting myself the most good-hearted woman in the world, and I got more than what I wanted. The same happens with your kids, your family, you know, your life, your business, what you're going to attract in cryptos. Suddenly, you're going to make the right decisions. And you're going to buy, for example, Neo. Neo just skyrockets. You're going to sell at the right time. And 2 weeks later, you look back and you go like, how did I do this? It's because you are focusing on the positive energy in your life. And I tell you, Craig, finding you is a blessing. Think about this, how you and I found each other. You are positive. I am positive. You folks, you want to surround yourself with people like Craig. I tell you now, try it for this entire year, and you are going to be extremely successful. Yeah, Craig, I get like goosebumps, man. It's not all about just cryptos here, Craig. We really need to motivate people, get people out of their chairs, out of their old habits, out of the rut where they are. You know, there's so much more about cryptocurrencies. It's not just cryptos.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, if I was like, and it's something to remember when we're looking at, let's say, technical analysis, and we're, you know, looking at news, and we're, I mean, like for me, I am a very avid day trader of crypto, so I'm always working on increasing my Bitcoin. So we all have different strategies and different techniques, and most of my trades are only honestly a matter of hours, really. I'm always waiting for the perfect setup, make a few percent in and out of Bitcoin. I'm just increasing my Bitcoin that way, especially with the market right now. It's very dumpy. It's very, I call it turbulent. So when you see a perfect setup and Bitcoin is happy, it's in a good mood, and you have an altcoin that is moving up faster than Bitcoin, you buy in, make a few percent, boom, buy out, back to Bitcoin. So in like a day in the life of Craig or your average Bitcoin person, it can be positive, negative, whatever. You win some, you lose some. But ultimately, the goal, I know at least for me, of what I'm doing with cryptocurrency, why it interests me, is that it is truly a universal peaceful revolution, and I would say possibly the first and only, peaceful revolution that humanity's ever experienced. And we'll see how it turns out, but I don't know what more good I can do for humanity. And it's odd, but really, other than have a passion for cryptocurrency, and so I like using that. I like using crypto to make a living, and I feel that by doing that, I'm doing the most I can for humanity. I mean, really, and so I feel truly, fortunate. And one of the things that Marius was saying about, I think it's very important to surround ourselves with positive people, because we've all heard that term that you are the 5 people that you associate with. And so, give it maybe a few more, maybe a few less, it doesn't really matter. And to go way out there on a spiritual tangent, some of those people you're connected to and you don't even know yet, but they're there. You'll meet them. And so, I find that, we're working in cryptocurrency right now, and of course I love the Radiant Creators podcast, and we're doing a lot of crypto right now. Don't worry, friends, we're not into it. We will be doing other topics also. We just do them as they arrive. We do them as they arrive. But really, I feel that in cryptocurrency and the people that I'm connected to and working with and interviewing, that I just call it like the grid. You are connected to those people, that grid of energy that is like yourself, that shares your enthusiasm and is working towards that, peaceful revolution, that peaceful evolution of humanity, that, because governments, forget it. They fail all of the people every time, all the time. They're not going to fix a damn thing. Central banks, no, nice thought. Financial institutions, give it a break. And so basically, it's like, hey, boys and girls, it's up to us to fix things. And really, I don't know how we're going to do it. I really don't. But I know that this is, at least for myself, the most effective way that I can be involved in that.
Yeah, Craig, what is really interesting, and I just want to get the right figure here. And I'm just looking here on my screen, so just pardon me if my face goes away. But during the American shutdown so far, the Dow Jones went up 13.86%. That's during a shutdown. So perhaps governments all over the world must just shut down and we'll run the world economy ourselves. So it's just really a joke when you look at that, But the governments all over the world, guys, yes, they are terrible, And Craig, this could perhaps be that cryptocurrencies is the very last chance for us as the human race collectively to stand together like a big colony of ants and attack the giant, take the giant down, because we need to free ourselves from the debt that we are in. And there's one thing, Craig, that I just don't like. I don't like to see people in debt. Because remember, I grew up in an orphanage. I never had anything. I had to fight my way through school. I had to sit in the back of the class, but I ended school as the top student. And the teachers didn't like to give me the credit, because I grew up in an orphanage. And, think about this now, 40 years ago, orphanages, if you grew up in an orphanage, you were the outcast of the world. So always had to fight for what I want. Had to go into even said to me, you can't get in the special forces because you're an orphan kid. That's the mentality of people. So the mentality, guys, and I had to work very hard to prove that I am the best soldier. And I in that year in the military, there were only 2 people that became lieutenants in the special forces, and I was one of them. So it just shows you that you can achieve greatness. And this cryptocurrencies that we have now, guys, if we collectively just go on a positive rand and don't worry about where the price of cryptocurrencies is now. There's one thing in the world, and I want to come back to that. It's debt. We want to help you get out of debt. Come together in a crypto society, in a crypto community, whether you're a subscriber of mine or not. We all just need to work together and forget about this group and that group and this group and all these different groups, but collectively be positive. Because there's one thing that the banks sell, it's debt. They want to keep you in debt. The bank is like a candy store. The candy they are selling is debt. Now you understand why they do not like cryptocurrencies. Why they want to destroy people to get out of cryptocurrencies, which is happening right now under your feet at this very moment. People are selling out of cryptocurrencies, cashing out back in fiat, never ever to come back to cryptos. But those who stay in cryptos, by default, and remember this is not financial advice, but by default, I tell you now, the chance for you to become financially free and a multi-millionaire is not impossible. You are going to pay off your debit card. You're going to pay off your home loan. You're then going to become debt-free. And the bank does not want you to become debt-free because you are a client, a customer for them. Why do they want to help you to get into cryptos? You get into crypto, stay there. As Craig said, buy something every week and just keep going within a very short period of time. And remember this, Warren Buffett, when he buys Apple or any other stock, he invests for 18 months. Give yourself the next 18 months time and you are going to be astonished. If you listen to this recording in 18 months from now and you hear Craig's voice and my voice, I tell you now, you're going to be astonished. We see data in our algorithm that even scares me beyond 18 months, 19, 20, 25 months, 3 years, 4 years. We are never ever going to see these levels ever again. Think about this, guys. How much silver, for example, is in the world left? Not much. People say there's abundant silver. There's not. There's so much new technology coming out. New vehicles, new industries, new buildings. The population is going to go to 9 billion people. Think about this. And silver is going to skyrocket, gold is going to skyrocket, and so will cryptos. The world stock markets will still do good. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom, Craig. You see all these people that say that God's wrath is going to come down on the earth and God's going to destroy these people with fire. Look, guys, God doesn't work like that. And it's not going to happen. The next 2 or 3 years are going to be very good years. Let's preach the good. And I'm not just saying this because I'm positive. I'm saying this because I see it in our algorithm. We are going to have 2 or 3 very, very good years. They are coming. The world stock markets won't collapse and destroy, and we won't go back to 1931 very quickly. Remember this, while Donald Trump is the president of the USA, and I'm not advocating Donald Trump here, just get me right, this is not a political speech, but while he is the president of the USA, he's got a lot of power to prop up the world stock markets with anything that he wants to do. And this comes back to what we said in the beginning, that they are going to announce war, and that's going to prop world stock markets up. So for the next 2 years, just relax. There's going to be a lot of money to be made. And this is, Craig, what we see in our data. And this is what I'm telling my subscribers. Don't listen to doom and gloom. And what you mentioned also, clickbait. You know, get out of the world stock markets. There's now 1931 depression coming. A bread is going to be $50. Oh, you won't have food. You're going to have to stand in a line and get your soup. I mean, come on, guys. It's not going to work like that, you know. There's so much money in the world. Oh, here's my beautiful wife, too. Just come and show your face here.
Hold on just a minute.
So, Craig, that's Wendy. She's on a call with somebody else. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, Craig. Yeah, I just went on the rant there, but yeah, you know.
No, it's a very good rant, and One thing I have learned, and it was a unique circumstance, well, being in the military also, and being in Somalia, after their country fell apart, was that I learned that commerce and humanity doesn't stop. It really can't. Like, here we are, and fiat currencies will come and go. Maybe even countries come and go, but humans don't really stop. And so we are really right now at the moment of vast change in defining what are borders, what are countries, etc., and ultimately what is currency. And I'm only halfway through it, but a book that's really affected me is, not that I'm like trying to push books on people, but, well, it's good to read, is The Bitcoin Standard, the decentralized alternative to central banking. I'll link it in the show notes. It's on Audible, and it's a regular, you can buy it on paper if you want, but it really gets into the history of Bitcoin, and it gets into and the history of fiat currency, and the history of currency and trade, and how a fiat-based currency, a currency based on nothing, it devalues the society itself. And so that's just something I'll recommend it to listeners to listen to, and definitely check out Marius's work that he's putting out. And so I have to keep right at about an hour, so I keep people who rebroadcast this show happy. Where can people get a hold of you, sign up and learn more about what the content you're putting out?
Yeah, Craig, thank you very much. People can get a hold of me. Just the best place is probably to go to my website, which is simply www.mariuslandman.com. And if you can't pronounce my name, just go to www.top20cryptos.com. But just search for me, Marius Landman, and you can find me, or find me on Twitter. Over to you, Craig.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and I will play our outro music. You might hear it, you might not. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But thank you so much for being on the show, and I hope we talk to you again.
Thank you very much, Craig. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.
This was a really good one, and I will send you a link as soon as we get it up.
Awesome.
All right, bye. Thanks for listening to Radiant Creators. Check out more content at radiantcreators.com. If you like the show, give it a like. Share this. Comment. Keep the conversation going. You can also find us at alternatecurrentradio.com, where there's this show and a lot more.